The following is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Hey folks, P. Basardo here, and you're listening to the Smoke Free Radio Network.
That was interesting.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Vaping in the Mic. I am currently in the midst of trying to get everything moving live the way that I believe that it should be, and I don't know if I am actually making headway in this or not. I'm also having the telephone lines are open this evening for our conversation that we're going to have with our guest. The telephone number, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, is 215-383-5752. When you hear the British lady come online, just press 1, and that'll get you into the queue that I can see on the side of the other screen on my laptop on the side here that will connect. This evening, there are a couple of things that I really want to begin with, and it is one of the things I know a lot of people have turned around, and they're looking at and saying, we have issues. Everybody remembers that the judge in a particular court has turned around now and said the FDA has 14 days. They've got to comply. They've got to file. The judge is trying to get them to do what he wants to do and not what is in all of the PMTA process as the FDA had set it up. The FDA did respond, and this is something that has come directly from the VTA as well as from OHVTA. This is from the VTA regarding that particular piece of information. It says, as I reported on May 16th, 2019, U.S. District Court of Maryland said that they have to do all of these things. Here is what the FDA had as a submission back to those particular folks and that court. Number 1, it said the court should not go beyond vacating the August 2017 guidance and should instead remand the issue back to the FDA to determine appropriate course of action. So the FDA is telling them, hey, you don't want to do that. Stop doing that. The second part, plaintiffs proposed 120-day deadline for submission. For the submission of pre-market application could adversely affect the public health and would be administratively infeasible. So here the FDA is telling the court, look, don't do this because we can't handle that kind of load in the time frame that you are trying to mandate. Number 3, the court should not order FDA to enforce the pre-market review provision, a step that would raise significant separation of powers and concerns. So it's all in the right place. It is happening all at the right time. There's other things that they turn around and they were talking about as well. And I want to get into those. And here again, I'm still trying to set things up. In the other portion of what they were saying, the FDA also put in, as part of its rationale, first and foremost from the public health perspective, a 120-day deadline would likely lead to a mass market exit of ENDS products. So the FDA knows The FDA definitely knows that if they were to enforce this at 120 days, most juice makers, most hardware people, most everything would turn around and they would have to exit the market because they're not in a position that they can file a PMTA, let alone that they haven't filed an HPHC yet. It continues, it said, indeed, it is the FDA's firm belief that such an accelerated deadline would create a genuine risk of migration from a potentially less harmful ends products. They're talking about vaping. A potentially less harmful ends products back to combustible products within the population of addicted adult smokers who have completely switched to ends. In short, they're saying, hey, if we do this, we're going to have people going back from vaping to smoking. It said this is a public health outcome that should be avoided if at all possible. So the FDA is turning around and they very much know, don't do this because we're going to have a lot of people going back from vaping, going back to smoking, and it's a public health problem, hazard, if you really want to put it that way. Here's the important part that a lot of people should check out. The FDA also noted, should the court order pre-market applications to be submitted by a certain date, and it should not, under no circumstances should it set that deadline sooner than 10 months from the date of its decision, with a 1-year period for FDA review, without limiting the agency's discretion to take enforcement action in the meantime. So there are some things that you need to look at when you hear this last part. The FDA is saying, should the court order this pre-market application to be submitted now or within 120 days? And they said, and it should not, meaning, don't do that. Under no circumstances should it set that deadline sooner than 10 months from the date of its decision with an additional 1 year in period for the FDA to review everything. Then I see some people pumping over here into the chat room now, and I'm honest to God, folks, I will get my YouTube stuff down together. I might have to get together with Matt Colley and actually find out how all of this works well, because I'm YouTube illiterate. At any rate, here again, the FDA has responded to the court. The VTA has also turned around and said, what's next? The FDA will have 30 days to file a notice of appeal if it's going to appeal. If the judge says, screw it, I'm going and doing what I want anyhow, the FDA is going to, more than likely, appeal this decision, and then it's going to be who knows what. The other thing that has happened in this last week is that the FDA finally put out its final PMTA guidance, and that goes right along with all of the things there. The HPHC is going to be testing, or the PMTA is going to be testing for 34 to 36 constituents. So we know that the testing is going to be rigorous. At first blush, looking at this thing, nobody's going to pass it. And I've heard a lot of people saying there is no way. It is not a possibility that that's going to happen. Thanks, Paul. They tell me that they can school me in YouTube. Lord knows that I need it. At any rate, folks, if you get the chance, go to VTA, check it out. It's on the Ohio Vapors Trade Association's website. It is on the VTA website. It talks about all the things that the FDA has done to date and the reply to the court decision. Now, let's segue over into the people that I really want to talk to. And I'm going to, before I even put them on camera, I'm going to turn around and make sure that I unmute them, because if I don't, they're going to be sitting there and talking and nobody's going to hear a damn thing. But this evening, there are two people. First, and I'll introduce both of them here. The first is Nikole Maloy, and the second that you see on the left-hand side is Foy Maloy. How are you folks doing this evening?
Good, Mike.
Doing
Awesome.
great. Thanks for having us.
Oh, I'm so glad you're both on here. Nikole, you and I have been talking about doing a show for a little while now. And it's just we never had the chance to be able to do so. I'm going to ask both of you, and you can decide who's going to answer first. How does it kind of sit with you knowing that the FDA is pushing back on what the court is saying?
I'll take that. I find it ironic a little bit that now anti-tobacco and FDA are arguing. It's just been a roller coaster since, we all started this, but it's an interesting turn, but we've had so many. I'm not shocked.
I have heard that about you repeatedly from a lot of different people, that you're not shy, that you will open up and say what you think. Foy, how does that sit with you, knowing that the FDA is pushing back and trying to regain its own standards and footing? Foy?
Did he leave?
No, I'm here.
Can you hear me at all, sir?
You were broken up that last time you came through.
Oh.
Say again.
How, knowing that the FDA is pushing things back and trying to push back against the court, how does that sit with you?
I think it finally gives the vaping industry some credibility as far as a tobacco harm reduction device. There's a new threat every day, so this is just the latest.
It seems, and I believe that you're right, it's almost like it seems like there's a new hardcore threat that rolls around all the time. And at times you really don't even know how to handle some of it. Nikole, tell me, you own which shop or shops, and where are they in Florida?
I own Vape Out. Boy and I both own Vape Out in Fernandina Beach, Florida. And we also have a second shop that we opened a year and a half ago. Vape Out is 5 years old. It's our flagship, if you will. Then we opened about a year and a half ago over the bridge on the island, where we live, called Amelia Island Vape Company. And it struggles. We're a small community, and I believe we have saturated the market, which is fine. It happens. We're not terribly upset about it. It is growing a small amount. We'll see. We'll see at the end of the year. We'll make a decision on the second store. But Vape Out, stellar, unbelievable experiences. We opened May 5th, 2014, and they dropped the regs to roll out of the FDA on April 24th. So that's where we kind of came in exactly when the roller coaster started and has not stopped. But Vape Out's wonderful. It does great business. I've got a fantastic employee. Oh, such a loyal base of customers. We have an older clientele, and we still get smokers off cigarettes every week.
That's the important part. And I wanted to ask you, even with all of the things that have been going on, all the regulations, you say roller coaster, and you're not kidding. Not only the roller coaster from the FDA and the things like that, but especially in Florida, all the crap that has happened in Florida is just. Have you had people coming in, going and being worried that they're not going to be able to get a vapor product?
Absolutely. Not many. But a few that have seen a report on the television, the internet, and I have had a few come in and just terrified. What is happening? What will we do? Will you help me? What? Just a few, though. Most people, we've been in business 5 years. We have a very loyal customer base. They depend on us. They believe in us. And we feel responsible to them.
How did you handle having somebody coming into the store going, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to get my liquid, or I'm not going to be able to get this, because they were under fear of Fox News or CNN or whatever garbage that they watch. How did you stop and go, okay, calm down? And what did you say to them?
I said, calm down. I will know, and I will let you know. Don't panic until I panic. And right now, we're okay. I keep it simple now because back in 2016, when we had to stop making our own juice, we talked about the FDA because we had to explain to our customers why we weren't making juice any longer. So we had to explain all these legalese about the FDA and all of this blah blah blah. And the customers over a 2 to 3 week period got this glaze in their eyes, and we not immediately, 3 weeks in, noticed we need to shut up. These customers have lives, they have different interests. They're not at the same level of interest in vaping as we are. And with the FDA, we were turning them off. They wanted to come in and have the same happy experience that they were used to. So, and I'd spoken to TD about this too. He went through this down in Tampa. And the same thing happened. They just talked about it and talked about it and talked about it for 3 weeks, and then realized, pull it back, calm down, quit, just back off, calm down. And we did. So now a lot of the recent issues that we're seeing with the FDA, we are not verbalizing that to our customers because of our past experience in 2016.
Now, you mentioned you took the correct path, what I'm going to call the correct path, and you stopped making in-house juice because at the time that's what was mandated right then and there. And you said, okay, the law is the law. We're going to follow the law because we want to stay in business.
Right.
What kind of impact did that have on your clients, on your income?
Wow. First, biggest impact, customers. They loved our juice. We made damn good juice.
Mm-hmm.
They love the ability to specialize their juice, add a tad of menthol, add a tad of tutti frutti, what have you. And they enjoyed watching us make it. It was an ice cream store. It was a snow cone store. It was fun. It was a gig, and people enjoyed it. It was fun. Now it's much more methodical because, okay, what juice would you like? Okay, grab it off the shelf. Here you go. A total different experience. So the biggest effect was the customer's experience in the store, really. The financial, everybody knows that. My margins were 0.4% to make the juice on cost. I was making, 90% profit. Everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody knows what juice prices are, so we're not making as much money. Although, the trade-off, I think, has been better because of the network of people that we have been able to meet and know that make these juices, including yourself. Mountain Oak Vapors was our first. Moon Mountain was our second. We have Fig Ramsey's juice. And these relationships are worth every penny of that cost.
Amen.
Hey, Foy, I'm going to ask you an odd question.
Sure.
When all of that happened and that particular transition happened, how many days did you either have to scoop her up off the floor saying, come on, sweetheart, this is okay, or how many days did you have to peel her off the ceiling from being upset?
Nikki's from Northeast Texas, and she doesn't blink often, but when she does, you better watch out. She's fearless. When the lips disappear, she's very serious, and we addressed it that way. She had me in the shop making juice on weekends. And she's right about the customer experience involved in that. Her shop, Vape Out, is like a old school barber shop. People come in, they're comfortable, they're relaxed. They tell you more than about themselves and personal things that you ever wanted to know. We have a very customer-friendly, comfortable
Adult
shop, and I'm really proud of that. That's how we went into it in the beginning, and we've been well accepted in the community. Like Nikki said, we have a very mature, older crowd. In the very beginning, one of the first customers that came in was a lady that just had oral surgery dealing with mouth cancer.
Oh,
She
wow.
had stitches in her mouth, and she wanted to stop smoking cigarettes. And
proud about her.
that that encounter will make you swell up, Mike. And that's why we're here, and that's why she's here. In the early beginning, we were told there's no scientific research to substantiate the vaping end game for nicotine and tobacco. And I went to Lowe's and bought a 8-foot white pine picnic table, and it sits in the shop today. And every non-smoker that we get to vape and off combustible tobacco, they sign and date the table, and the table's covered with signatures. And I may drive it to Washington one day. It's my scientific evidence of
See, now that's awesome.
results of vaping. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
mentioned that you have a mid-range to mature clientele.
Older. Yeah.
How, if I can ask, did you avoid the pitfall that a lot of shops would fall into, either they're trying to upsell their current clientele with new device, the new stuff, or the cloud culture, which I have no problem with them. Yeah, but how did you avoid that kind of a pit trap to maintain the customers that you do have?
Nick, you want to take that one?
Yeah. Yes. We have both. A lot of people from their 20s to 30s and some in their 40s do like the bigger devices. They do like the cloud chasing. They began at a flea market. They began like we did before there was a shop in our town. And so they started with the small devices, and we started selling all the small devices. And then we obviously went with the market. We did bring in bigger devices. We have a variety of devices.
Mm-hmm.
I have people that still buy the T3S tank and an EVOD battery and the coils to this day, 5 years later. But the customers even the older customers, after they've been vaping for a little while, for us for 2.5 years, they were like, okay, what's that? And I would like a little bit more vapor. So I think saying that the larger vapor only pertains to the younger people is not correct. Floyd vapes a Sub-Ohm Atlantis or a Joytech EC coil. Michelle vapes several.
Mm-hmm.
They just, after you get into vaping and you're from that initial stage, even some of the older crowd, not the much older crowd, but the mid-range, I guess, 30 to 40 and 50s and early 60s. I mean, and there's just such a variety. Everybody likes their own thing. So that's the hard part. We have to have the small devices, the starter devices. The ones that I first sold, I still have to carry. I still have those customers. But
Really?
some of them have transferred. Yes. And some of them have transferred to what I would call regular Sub-Ohm. And then when we hit super Sub-Ohm, the super Sub-Ohm is more the younger. But the older crowd is halfway they stayed in the smaller devices that they began with. And the other half of them have gone to the 0.5 Atlantis coil or the 0.5, Joytech EC coil, just for a little bit more vape. So it's been a roller coaster.
And that's something that I find interesting. because I go to a lot of shops, and they look like your typical vape shop. They would. Somebody phrased it. I don't know where it was. I read it somewhere. They say you walk into some typical shops and you're as likely to pick up a venereal disease as you are a new product. You know? And I'm like, yeah, because you walk in and you see guys with beards and blowing clouds, and it would very much put off any smoker that is wanting to vape. They're going to turn around. Yeah.
Part of our business plan early on was to eliminate the creep factor in our shop. Like I said, it's very welcoming and warm and comfortable. We intentionally avoided all that going into it, and it's paid off big time.
And that's important, because I see, I'm going to reference it. Dimitri Agrafiotis has a store in Greece, a couple of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But he took pictures of the ones that he opened up, and that place looks like it is a subset of an Apple iPhone store or something.
Amen.
It's clean. It's neat. It's just well laid out.
Right.
Our store is a country jewelry store.
Now, that's inviting.
Yep.
Very.
You know, because people, when you have a store like that, you would want to walk in and browse. It's like, oh, check this out. Oh, look over there. You know,
well, they don't want to leave.
But we're not a lounge. They still stay. They stay. A customer, not every customer, but every day, almost, we have a customer, a regular, that will stay, pull up the chair. We have a couple of bar stools. We have the picnic table. They'll sit at either place and chat for 30 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
These are purposely not comfortable chairs.
And that's...
Yeah, they're not comfortable.
It's important that they feel that they're comfortable enough to come in and sit down and have a conversation. You know?
Every day. It's fascinating. And pour their souls out. Make us cry sometimes. And not about vaping, just I didn't think it was going to turn into that. I'm a little surprised that it's a bartender type relationship or a psychologist counselor type of relationship with some people. They have no one else to talk to. No one. They're in situations with their marital or their family or religion or heaven, whatever it is, and they have nowhere to pour that out. They have nowhere to come and sit and talk to somebody. Maybe they live alone, and they come and they sit and talk with us every week, and that's their out. And so it compares to several situations.
Now, let me ask you, before we take a break, the people that come back and sit and have conversations and are comfortable doing that, are they stuck in a particular type of conversation, or are they asking what's going on, what's happening on the news front? I saw this on the news. Or do they?
Very few. A few do. Most, it's all about them. They want somebody to talk to. Okay.
And again, when you've got a clientele, you can't turn around and say, no, I'm not going to talk to you. That's rudeness in the extreme. And the quickest way to drop customers.
You have to grin.
Nikki's turned into a very good listener, Mike.
You have to grin and bear it. I'll have to give a lot more kudos to Michelle, my manager, for that. She was going to be on the show. She's ill. She is fascinating, and she can smile her way through an hour-and-a-half conversation that I would just go like that. She's better than me. I stop the conversations sometimes and stop the eye contact. I do okay. I do better than I used to. But Michelle is fascinating. She really connects with people on a level that's just fascinating. I don't know how else to put it.
And it is important, massively important, that you have that kind of people that work for you with that kind of passion.
Blessing.
You know, they truly are. because I've seen places that don't have the correct people behind the counter, and it's horrible. Just horrible. Folks, we're going to take just a minute. I need to do our sponsor slot, because without the sponsors, Smoke Free Radio could not do what it does. And we'll be right back after this.
Hey now, this is Dimitri with Smoke Free Radio, reminding you to please show some love to our wonderful sponsors. Without them, there would be no Smoke Free Radio, and they are as follows. All the way from Florida, Moon Mountain Vapor, with locations in Florida, and their liquid available for wholesale and retail, moonmountainvapor.com. Some of the best custards and tobaccos on the market from the Brickwills Vaping Company. The lovely Shell with a vapor bar, locations in Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia. And of course online at thevaporbar.com. And who says you can't have award-winning e-liquid without cartoon characters? That's exactly what you're going to get at theplumeroom.com. And finally, of course, the Vaping Advocate magazine that has generously provided the telephone lines for you to communicate with us. Thank you for your support. And finally, for you, the listener, don't forget to check out the coupons and codes page on Smoke Free Radio. Pick up some e-liquid and save some money. From all of us here at Smoke Free Radio, thank you for your continued support.
Hey folks, P. Basardo here, and you're listening to Vaping and the Mic with Mike Peterson.
Coming back from our sponsor slot, joining me this evening is Nikole Maloy and Foy Maloy. And it is a pleasure, honestly, to have both of you on here. I really appreciate it, because there's a couple things that I really want to ask both of you. And this is probably going to get into a little bit of territory where the disclaimer about language might step in. The first one, and I'll let you both answer to this. How do you feel about Juul products and what is happening in the market, and how does it affect your stores?
Ooh. Wow.
Let me answer this one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be the first to dive into this.
It's a big story.
Yeah, we carried Juul. We brought Juul in, and it was in the store for about 3 days. And we had two local young people, throw a rock through the window about the size of an Idaho baked potato.
Oh, my God.
And they stole all the Juul product and left. It was a smash and grab. We immediately removed Juul from our stores. And this was before all the high school, college headlines started. Juul just started off bad for us. We didn't even get out of the gate with Juul, Mike. And I'm glad it's gone. But that was a sign from the man above that shit's gonna happen, and shit happened.
I can't believe that they actually did that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've still got the rock in the shop.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
I should have brought it with me.
Luckily, they did not break any cases. They broke one glass window. They were very athletic, thank goodness. Cleared the counter, and field and track fashion and grabbed the jewels exactly where they were placed and stuffed them in a backpack, and out they were in 2 minutes. So that was the first experience with Jewel. Of course, I follow this a little bit closer than Foy. Jewel, I feel the same way about Jewel as most people do. They are a harm reduction product, no doubt. They are extremely great marketers. They got into C-stores. They got into colleges. They flooded colleges. And from college, it fell down to the siblings. And there came the, quote, ick. And they're suffering right now. I had a recent encounter with a Jewel salesperson walk through my door. That was interesting.
Wow.
We hate them. We feel like they're against us. In Tallahassee and Florida this year, we were fighting 4 bills that turned into 1 bill. We eventually won during the last week, which was tear-jerking because we didn't think we were going to. But Jewel was fighting us. They were testifying while we were testifying, and they wanted T21, which I don't understand. They want rid of flavors. I do understand. But they had lobbyists against us in Tallahassee and across the nation in state houses. They are not on our side. They are not a vapor harm reduction, in my opinion, anymore, as in most people, especially the crowd we're talking to now. It's just not who they are. It's unfortunate, but I think they want to be the last man standing, and they're doing an incredible job at getting there. That scares me.
That's horrible. And
they want rid of flavors.
This is something that Bill Tarling and I talk about all the time, and a lot of other people. They don't want flavors. They want to go back to tobacco, mint, and menthol.
That kills us.
That's exactly what they want. They want that coffin nail to kill and we'll call it the open vapor market.
Absolutely.
You know, anything that is sub-ohm or not a pod system, a closed pod, they want rid of it because people would rather have something strawberry or something caramel or a custard or a different fruit instead of tobacco, mint, and menthol. It's why we all quit smoking, to get away from that taste.
Yeah, the sales lady, unfortunately, she left quickly because I was extremely rude. She caught me off.
The lips disappeared.
What?
Your lips disappeared that day.
Shut up. But I don't know what she was selling. I know some other people across the country did speak with, because they had salespeople out the same weekend or week, hit lots of shops. Some people did better than me and did get some good information from what were they were trying to do to get back in the vapor space. But what she told me when I said, I explained to her in Tallahassee, we're fighting you. Their dollars speak for what they're doing, and I'm sorry, you've been lied to. And she left. She was pissed, and I was pissed. So we didn't get too far with that. But, I'd really like to talk about some advocacy.
Oh, we're going to talk about advocacy. There is no doubt about it. It's one of the things that is highly on my mind. I had the outstanding chance to meet Nick and, oh my God, Dolores, correct? Orlando.
Yes.
And they actually flew up to Ohio to attend and speak at the Ohio Vapors Trade Association conference.
Yes.
So I had a chance to meet and spend time with them. Fantastic people. And there's something that caught my attention. He said it while he was doing his speech. He said it is more important to have an active membership than to have just a large membership.
Amen.
That speaks volumes. Because when I first started hearing about Nick and the Florida State Vapor, is it Florida State Smoke Free Association? Florida Smoke Free?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
There was only like 10 shops that were involved. Nick was taking money out of his own pocket to pay for things. He and Dolores were trying to run things as best that they could on their own dime, which just floored me.
Yeah.
But they were still, even at that point, going and taking their time and spending their time at the state capitol to defend the vapor industry in Florida.
I will tell you, when I met Nick Orlando for the first time, Foy was with me. We had a meeting, a small North Florida meeting at the Vapors Republic, and there were several local customers in there. There were some shop owners in there. And Nick Orlando, I first noticed Nick on Facebook when he was building his first store down in the Tampa area, thinking, this guy's crazy. The regulations have dropped. What is this crazy guy doing? But I couldn't stop watching him. So we go to this event, and we don't know anyone. And Nick Orlando comes up and sits down beside us, introduces himself. We had an adult conversation. And I think it really solidified and started mine and Foy's journey with advocacy with Florida and beyond. Nick was the catalyst for us, which luckily took us into Dimitri and TD and Kevin Sonar and Steve Nair, Fig Ramsey. Oh my gosh, Vaping for Voices. Is that what it's called? Did I say it wrong? Voices for Vaping. Damn it, Fig. Voices for Vaping is the newest that, we've just been on board ever since. Fig, Dimitri, Nick and Dolores, TV, our circle is small, but it's quality. It's such quality. I don't know a lot of people, but my circle knows a lot of people. And we support, we send money when we can. We couldn't go to Tallahassee this year, so we funded it. We funded the gas. We funded everything we could. Just Florida's hardcore circle. We have our shit together.
They're fierce.
Foy, that's one of the biggest things that I gathered from talking with Nick, because in listening to what he was saying, the people that are part of the FSFA, for lack of better words, don't take any shit when it comes to fighting bills and legislation and things like that. It is a no holds barred.
Toe for toe, never blink. We're right there. Yeah.
They show up.
That's what he means by saying.
I have to give credit. I really, really wanted to give a lot of credit to TD Bowen at Moon Mountain. He started FSFA. Nick took the baton, and I watched it. And I met Nick, TD, Dimitri, Dolores, Kevin Sonar at Kevin Sonar's second anniversary of Mountain Oak Vapors in Oviedo, Florida. And that was I think that was the second time I met Nick. I've met him several times. But Foy was with me there as well. That was captivating. It was the baton being passed, and everybody was on the same page. You just knew. You had solid people. Nobody's stabbing anybody in the back. Everybody's holding hands, kumbaya, whatever you want to call it. It worked. And Nick just happened to be the right man, the right voice, and Dolores to do it and to take the baton and do what they did. And Nick honestly pulled us along with all of the others. And we do as well. I have vendors that call me, and my first question is, what do you do in advocacy? I have pissed off some pretty big Lambo players, and I don't give a shit. Because Lost Art was the last one, and I always post this shit on Facebook, always. I have no problem with it. And some of them have turned around. And the one company that I just love is Cyclops Vapor from Alabama. What is his name? He stepped up immediately.
Wow.
Not only did he step up immediately when I asked, I pulled his product on. It's on my shelf. He was in Tallahassee this season testifying for us. He's from Alabama.
Amen.
What is his name? Damn it. Anyway, everybody else knows.
I think Tallahassee was shocked at who showed up.
40 people at one meeting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Responsible tobacco harm reduction advocates, adults, and they were shocked at what they saw.
And that's exactly what needs to happen. Now, comparatively, Ohio's facing a bill, and unfortunately it's been amended, but it was just a T21 is what everybody thought at the beginning. And they asked for people to come. 6 people showed up.
Yeah.
And we've got a membership that's well over 100. And I'm like, this is why Nick's words rung so true in my ears about having an active participation from people that are in the association.
In Florida, we're all in the same lifeboat. I mean,
well, every state is. It's hard to get people to show up. I don't know how Nick does it. He has a charisma about himself. He's not shy. He just has that. He was on a radio show the other day, a local radio show in Tampa, and he killed it. He killed it. He just point for point for point for point. He nailed it. And he has the ability to reach out to people, connect with people, bring them on, and he's not afraid to tell them to no, shut the hell up, go the hell away. He just has that. He's just great at it. He is. Zach Carpenter is his name from Cyclops.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed up, and I'm so happy about that.
And it's important for anybody that's in the chat room listening, is going to be listening on the podcast later on. Advocacy is an encompassing kind of thing. It is one of those things that is needed. Otherwise, we're just going to continue having the same things happening, and we're going to get railroaded out of business.
Mike, it's grassroots. It starts in the local communities. Throughout the nation, all the communities have local representatives in their state capitals. The people, the vapors, the owners, the juice makers need to know who those representatives are. They need to know them personally. They need to be able to look them in the eye when they're shopping in the grocery store, when they're out, at local events. They need to be on a first name basis. That makes a huge difference. You've got to know your local representatives who are voting and educate them. It's all about education. The public, I've been in the local information business for 43 years, and it's an ignorant populace, which is extremely dangerous. But you've got to reach out, shake your hand of your local representative to make sure he knows what we are doing in his community to stomp out combustible tobacco. And that's the grassroots plan. I mean, it works. One phone call is what it took to get a no vote for us.
Wow.
In first committee.
Folks that are listening.
That's so simple, but so strong. And I'm passionate about that. You got to know these people. You got to look them in the eye. You got to tell them what you're doing. Invite them into the shop. Show them what you're doing. Because as you said, it's not, your typical sleazy, behind the curtain type shop. So, that's where it starts, and that's where our success has come from in Florida. We've met a lot of people, and that's extremely important.
No,
Goes a long way.
it is everything, is to be able to get out there and not only to educate the people that are in the position that are going to vote on the future of your business or anybody that's in business in the vapor industry. If you don't know them, they don't know you. They don't know about you or what you're doing.
Right.
Huge.
But they know the lobbyist. They know the big tobacco lobbyist.
See, there was something that somebody mentioned the other day. They said, and again, these things catch me, and I pay attention and I listen. But somebody had said, anytime that the American Lung Association puts out a call to action, they have thousands of people that immediately start doing things.
Right.
Because they're passionate about what they're doing. They believe in what they're doing. And I'm like, why the hell can't the vapor industry manage to do the same thing? That's my pet peeve.
Mine too. Where are the manufacturers? This is everybody's pet peeve. Okay, I'm just a small shop. Why am I spending $1,000 here, $1,000 there, $1,000 here? Why are consumers offering $50 here, $50 there? Where are the manufacturers? Well, unfortunately, this industry is so young. It's extremely young compared to what we're facing.
Mm-hmm.
And we have not made the turn to where the manufacturers are the leaders. And I believe this 100%, that Dimitri had it right with Sevia. He had the manufacturers. He had at least 5 or 6 on board, and he worked very hard at that. It's not any one specific person's fault that it didn't work. It's just that people did not grasp the importance of getting on to Sevia when we had the manufacturers. We had them. And without a lot of involvement and a lot of movement and some FDA bullshit, that fell apart. We had it. So I really get where Dimitri is right now. I want to say something about Dimitri. He was the first adult real voice that led me through and to advocacy. I was listening to Dimitri before I met Nick, and I respect him beyond.
I am right there in the same boat with you, and I would venture to say many of the people that know Dimitri, to truly know him, are right there in the same boat.
Yep.
Yes.
Just one hell of a man.
Yep.
I'm going to, because we've only got a few minutes left, I want to ask you, I've been thinking about this, and I was thinking maybe I'll talk about it, maybe I won't. I need to ask you about your current disposition with a product line from, and it depends, it's either called Smock or Smoke.
They call themselves Smoke, ironically. Yeah, I'm pissed off at Smoke, like every other store owner. They put out too many products. They didn't label them properly. They have too many coils. It's very confusing for the customer. It's confusing for the employee behind the counter. They quit naming the name of the tank on the bottom of the tank. It just says made by Smoke. Their coils take up, a quarter to 3/4 of people's wall. And a customer will walk in and go, "Hey, you have a coil for my Smoke tank?" They don't know what they have. We don't know what they have. We have to take it apart. Oh, we're not supposed to do that. We have to take it apart, get the coil out. Thank God the only constant is it's written on the side of the coil. You have to have a magnifying glass to find it, but it's actually written underneath their little logo what tank it is. But it takes that much work to get to just simply selling one coil. That's a problem. And Smoke is made good products. They made me money, but their quality control always crashes. And this TFV12, TFV8, TFVFU, I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it would be better to call it A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And other companies are following in suit. I've got a WN03 that's a 0.2 and a WM02 that's a 0.3. I mean, really, this is stupid. It's beyond stupid.
All right.
That's how I feel about all that.
Before you get any more fired up, tell me then, what is your favorite hardware product that you carry?
Personally or money-wise?
Well, let's start off with personally. What do you personally enjoy?
I'm a mouth to lung. I smoked 12 nicotine for 3.5 years at least. I'm now to 6. I was on the Nautilus during most of those years. Luckily, Dimitri and Phil came out with the Zenith. Phil's from the top. I absolutely love it. Only love one of their coils, though. A little bit to blame on them. They've now got 4 coils. Don't like that. 3 coils, I think, is plenty for any tank. That gives diversity and options. Mm-hmm. I like the 0.8 coil in the Zenith. I'm currently using, this is a great segue. I have the Aegis Mini that came as a kit with a sub-ohm tank with an internal battery of a total of 2,600 milliamp hours. How long do you think that kit lasts on a sub-ohm tank? Approximately 5 hours.
Wow.
It's the dumbest design, and other companies are doing it as well. If you're going to have a sub-ohm tank, everybody does now, and you're going to put in a kit with a battery with less than 4,000 milliamp hours, it's not going to last someone all day.
No.
And in today's age, everybody wants a battery that lasts all day. It's just ridiculous. And I did tell John Glosser and Smoke about that, but I haven't spoken to Geek Vape personally. But that's what I like. I like the Zenith. I like the mouth to lung. Foy, what are you vaping on?
Whatever you gave me. I'm research and development, Mike.
Good answer.
I test a lot of product.
Good answer, Foy. All right, now.
If I don't like it, I send it back.
Yep. What is the most prominent products that are on your shelves that customers enjoy? All right, let me simplify that.
We have several.
What do you find yourself reordering the most of?
It's a variety, Mike. It really is.
Mike, we've got so much inventory in that little store. It's crazy.
We have the most we're ordering right now, pod systems, I think, but the EVOD batteries, the starter stuff, every week, both are ordered. And we're very well stocked on the larger items right now because of the turn towards the pods and the smaller systems. So we aren't ordering as many larger Smoke, Geek Vape, Joytech, sub-ohms because we're stocked in those and it's turned. You have to go with it. It changes. And the customer comes in and tells you what they want. And you have to get it because 2 streets down, they have it. So right now, it was the Sorens for several months. We were reordering the Sorens. We're reordering the Nords. Well, that's fallen off recently. But we always have the Kangaroo EVOD batteries with the T3S tanks.
Yep.
And the Aegis Legend is hot. Geek Vape is hot.
Wow.
For sure. But we carry every level.
And that's important too, because that way no matter who walks in the door.
Buildable stuff, and I don't know how to build anything.
when people walk in the door, you're able to look and say, okay, here, I've got something for you over here.
Absolutely. You have to. And I find this is a problem as well. Customers walk in the door from another place and they have this kit with the sub-ohm, and I sell them a Zenith to go on it, and they're thrilled. They're like, that's what we were asking them for, but they sold us this big cloud blower we didn't want. And I said, your battery's fine. I don't try and sell them a new battery. Your battery's fine. You just need a mouth-to-lung tank. We sell them a Zenith or a Nautilus, and they're happy. They're thrilled. I mean, we literally have people jumping up and down.
See, now that's awesome because that
makes it worth it.
You're able to match the right hardware with the right juice for the right person.
Right person. That's huge. Right nicotine level, right device, right airflow. Yeah, all of it. There's 7 dynamics you have to put together for one person to be successful. And most shops don't do that, and they come to us. Even Michelle came to us from another shop, my manager, because they didn't tell her how to use her device. That's how I met Michelle.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Great, though. We love it. It's fun. We're having fun.
It's fun, all right.
Yeah. All right. In wrapping up this evening.
Boy.
Here's what I want to do in wrapping up our show. Because believe it or not, see, Nikole, you were worried about, oh my God, what are we going to talk about? And look at this. The hour is already gone.
Yeah. Oh, shit. I wasn't really worried.
She's terrified.
Foy,
that's me.
Yep. Foy, in closing, if you had something that you wanted to tell people, what would it be?
I've never seen a device that is so successful in my entire life, Mike. I chewed a pouch of Red Man chewing tobacco for 20 years.
Wow.
I chewed a pouch a day for 20 years. Not dip, but pouch chewing tobacco. Right. The equivalent of, 50 packs of cigarettes a day. And I never thought I would ever be able to stop. The first week when my wife stopped smoking cigarettes, she smoked a pack a day for 25 years. I gave it a shot. And I am chewing tobacco free now on 6 Nick. And it's changed my life. And like I said, I've never seen a bigger threat to combustible tobacco in my entire lifetime. And that in itself is a strong testimony. Nikki's story is a strong testimony. Our shop and our White Pine picnic table with signatures is a stronger testimony. It's pretty awesome, and it's fun. It's stressful, but it's fun. Most things that are fun are stressful. Skydiving, water skiing, snow skiing, snowboarding. Stressful, but it's damn sure been a fun ride, and it's not over yet. It's going to take a public upswell. You got to educate your customers. You've got to know your local decision makers. You've got to let people know what you're doing positively. All we read about 24/7 falling out of the sky is the harmful effects of what we're doing to the youth of America. And I grew up in an age where I rode my bike behind the mosquito truck, inhaled all that bad stuff. Grew up with malathion being sprayed in the citrus groves of Central Florida. Vaping is not a threat. Vaping and anti-vaping is being pushed by big money, big tobacco, just like big sugar. And we're in the fight for our lives, literally. The smokers in America are in the fight for their lives. But vaping has changed my life, and it's changed my wife's life, and we change customers' lives every day for the better.
I can't think.
That's my testimony.
I can't think of a better testimony for somebody to give. It's even Bill Charlie, because that exact comment from Foy is exactly what needs to be said and heard at hearings. It's true.
It's true.
Nikole,
We'll be there next year.
Nikole, what would you tell people in wrapping up our show this evening?
Thank you, Mike, for having us. Super appreciate it. Just love the industry, love everybody involved. I think the more the merrier. Even the infighting and the stupid fractions, I think will fade away. I hope. I see them fading away. I hope they continue to. We need to all join together. Voices for Vaping. I just think that's phenomenal. Check it out on Facebook. Voices for Vaping is putting out a positive message, a positive PR message that we have not had. Dimitri tried back in the day. I know he did hard and didn't get the support, but FIG and VTA and Voices for Vaping, I think this is where we need to really rally around and get that positive PR out there, because this is kind of our last shot, guys. And that's a good group. You know, it's not perfect, but that's what we got. And it's good enough. It's damn well good enough. Voices for Vaping.
Fantastic. Everybody that is in the chat room or listening on the podcast, again, guests this evening, Nikole Maloy and her husband, Foy Maloy. Down in Florida, they are changing people's lives every day. In their shops, they are continuing to be strong advocates. And in some sense of the word, they are activists because they are getting out and getting things done. Thank both of you for being on the show this evening. Seriously, it's been an absolute pleasure, because I know it is important for people to continue to hear from what they consider the front line at your shop. What are you experiencing? What are you thinking? What are you going through?
Yeah.
And other people need to hear that. So I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
For everybody else, if you catch up again next week is going to be Bill Tarling and myself doing a 1-year wrap-up show. Because next week I'll have been doing 52 shows. So it's going to be an interesting kind of thing. But
Congratulations.
Tell Bill, I'm sorry I didn't wear a shoe. I thought about it.
He wears that. He did that the other night, too.
I know. He told me to.
Boot on my head.
For everybody else, thanks for taking time to tune in to Vaping in the Mic. And I will catch up with everybody again come next week. Until then, I hope everybody has a great evening.
God bless. See you.